So today on stream, it was a Crafting and Gathering Wednesday stream, and I focused on gearing out my Gatherer that had hit level cap, and I had some things that were best in slot, but I also have a handful of items that are still much lower level 430s, and I'd been working towards best in slot. I didn't just want to buy it, and I realized, you know what? Let's just go ahead and move towards Land Saint. Now, Land Saint and Hand Saint, Disciple of Land, Disciple of Hand, are one of the easiest to get, absolutely free ways you can gear out your Crafter and Gatherer once you hit to cap. So we recently talked about how important it is to have a botanist and a culinarian, or if you want to make the Dwarven Mithril files, it ends up being, minor and whatever. So having one of each at cap is a really helpful thing, but once you get to cap, now what? It's going to depend on where you are in the expansion, but right now we are at the end of an expansion, which is the easiest time to gear them up. And so let me go ahead and tab in game. You'll see my stream overlay. And what we have here is I am in Yulemoor. Yulemoor is the secondary city. That's an easy place to do it. Lots of places to do this. And what you're looking for are collectibles. I don't remember exactly how to unlock them, so I'm so sorry. You're going to have to kind of Google that a little bit if you don't have it naturally, but I can turn on this ability that's a collector's glove, and I can go out in the world and I can gather collectibles. Mining and botany works drastically different than fishing. Fishing is as simple as having the collector's glove on and then fishing in the right holes with the right bait. Not a big deal. But with mining and botany, there's a much different system that I honestly don't understand well enough to recommend you how to do it. Other than I've fumbled my way through it, it seems to work okay. And once you gather these, or you craft them, where you can actually open up your crafting menu and you can go into collectibles and you can make these various collectibles. Once you're past level 50, you can use them to level. This is specifically for how to gear once you're at 80, so I'm assuming we're not talking about all this below 80 stuff. You can go to a collectible appraiser. A collectible appraiser for any of our crafters and our gatherers for all 11 has this stuff here, and you will see a whole list of things that they are looking for. You will see all my level 80 gathering things grant white scripts, and the lower level things grant yellow scripts. Within my crafting, you can see that one thing grants white scripts and everything else is yellow. Now for crafters, you also have custom deliveries that can grant these every week, and you can definitely go do those. One of the recent ones in the Ishgard restoration area actually goes ahead and gives you a mount as well, so they're worth doing. You just unlock them at the various custom delivery locations. You can actually see them in duty timers, custom deliveries, and here are all of the custom delivery people in the game. You progress through them much like you would a beast tribe. If they have a little shirt here, it actually means that you can dress them up after you're done, which is really goofy, and they have their own storyline and all that, so it's worth doing, and it grants these scripts. Scripts are most easily explained to people who are just getting into crafting and gathering but have played the game for a while as tomestones. In your battle tomestones, you have your current tomestone, Revelation, weekly capped, and Allegory, which is not weekly capped, and it's your secondary tome. Over here, we have crafter scripts and gatherer scripts, and we have our highest one, not capped, but harder to get, and our lower one, much easier to get, and also not capped. As you turn these things in with collectible appraisers, this is how you get these. The reason we're talking about these today is the question is, how do I gear out my level 80s? I can go buy vendor gear, but what I can easily do is jump into the level 500 set. They have weapons and offhands and armor for all of your crafters and gatherers. Remember, all your crafters are going to share one set, and all your gatherers are going to share one set, minus their primary and offhand. And they are sold at script exchanges right next to it. Here's crafter scripts and gatherer scripts. Basically, there's yellow scripts here. You're going to spend most of your time, assuming you're already level 80, you're going to have to go through and get your master recipes once if you want to make things. This is best seen in here. This is how you unlock these various tabs to be able to craft these should you want to. After that, you're going to spend it in items, probably to buy things that you can sell on the market board or to gather materia for yourself. White scripts, on the other hand, is how you buy gear. Earlier on in the expansion, we unlocked the ability to get 440 gear from this. Later into the expansion, we unlocked the ability to get to 470, and we finished out with the ability to get to 500 gear. This is the second best gear in slot. It is the easiest to get good gear and will absolutely carry you through the rest of the expansion, as long as your goals are not to get into the very top end things to lock behind crafting. So this content here, this will absolutely get you. Here's all your primary weapons and secondary weapons, and then here is their armor set, and you just go gather these white scripts to get there. Now, what is best in slot? Because that is the follow-up question to this. Well, if we hop over to my gatherer here, and we open this up, 500 gear is your second best in slot because it has the best stats on it. If it is not the Land Saint set, it'll have 2 Materia slots on it, but ultimately your max amount of stats is set around a base level 500 thing. So this Land Saint and Hand Saint, there's no Materia, you get what you get. Here's the amount of stats on here. So let's go take a look at the helm for gatherers. And we go into the tier 3 gear, go to armor, we open up my character pane. Actually, we can just do item comparison. So, the best in slot is crafted level 490s. I'd like to craft the rest of my set, which is why I didn't just go buy it, but you can. I've made 2 of my pieces, but not all of them. 500 here is going to grant perception, which drives quality at 476. That's more than 459. It is, but not once I meld. So when I meld stuff on here, if it means it's in red, I didn't get the full GP that it was supposed to give me. There's some debate. You could go out to a Discord and find out what the best is. I just fumbled my way through this. But basically what melding means is you're attaching materia. So on this crafted gear of high quality, because that'll have the most base stats, I can put 2 materia 8s on there, 100% chance, easy to get. So once you've got your Land Saint and Hand Saint, that's the easy thing we introduced. That's the purpose of this video. Now we're getting into where do you go from here. If you want to go further, you do not have to. You can now go into a system called overmelding. In your first materia slot here, you can also meld a top level materia. That's an 8 or a 6. That's your evens. And so you can meld an 8 to get a nice big chunk of perception. After that, you can only meld your odds, your 7s and 5s. And so that is where I had to drop down to materia 7s. As you go further down in the stack, there's a failure rate with making sure that materia actually sockets. And so that failure rate during melding is how we generate a demand for all of these 7s, because these just get flushed down the toilet until one actually attaches. It can be very expensive to jump into. This is the reason this is what I recommend, because this pentameld system can be very expensive. If you do not pentameld, you will have trouble getting to the best things in the game. And so as we jump into the highest level crafts, you will see that with some of my crafters, as we get down into the 4 stars, I can actually sometimes not have the stats required to even attempt if I don't have the good weapon to go with it. And so if I jump over to Blacksmith here, which has a level 485 relic weapon and all 500 gear, and I open this up under Blacksmith, and I go to Master Recipes 8 for the current most advanced things in the game, and I jump down here, I literally cannot attempt this without getting better gear. And so you can spend millions of gil jumping into this, but this is a totally optional system that peaks in the Resplendent system. Expert recipes are their own mess. So if you're just trying to taste the system, if you're just trying to get to things like the cookie leaves recommended in my previous gil making video, all you need to know is go do content that generates white scripts and yellow scripts. The easiest, infinitely repeatable thing is to do, after you do your custom deliveries on your crafters, is to come to your collectible appraiser and turn in what it asks you to. You can do it an unlimited number of times. It teaches you about actually going out and gathering and actually going out and crafting if that's not how you leveled, if you kind of just bought leave turn-ins, etc. And you can come over to Script Exchange and you can buy yourself the second best set of items in the game in trade for only your time. The difference between a 490 pentamelded set and a 500 set is massive in both cost and in how useful it is for doing the hardest things in the game. But since we're this late in the expansion, if you're just trying to get a taste, you don't have to do that. Hopefully that gives you some sort of clue into kind of what this stuff is, especially for people who have been long time invested in the battle system. You'll quickly see parallels in how that works. We don't have things like normal and savage dungeons that drop the loot, and so you end up relying solely on basically a tome-based system to gear up. This progression moves over the course of an expansion, so throughout Endwalker, the best in slot crafting set will change from time to time, but by the time you get to a 0.5 patch, you can just go straight for the best or second best based on how much you want to invest. Thank you so much for watching me talk about this, and enjoy whatever this content means to you, even if you don't consider it the mainline content you do in the game and you just consider it gaming, kinda.